The anomaly entered Imperial space without permission, without signature, without explanation. It did not arrive through any known form of travel. No warp distortion, no gate usage, no traceable origin. One moment, the outer sentry grid was empty. The next, something was there, motionless, deliberate, present. Automated defenses locked on instantly, but hesitation followed. The object emitted no threat markers. No weapons, no emissions, no recognizable structure. It was shaped like a vessel, but scans failed to resolve its composition. Every attempt returned contradictions: solid and fluid, inert and active, empty and occupied. Command escalated the alert. Restricted zone protocols activated. Identification demands were transmitted across all known frequencies, including dead channels reserved for extinct species. The response came almost immediately. A voice. Clear. Calm. Human. The word alone triggered sealed directives buried deep within Imperial doctrine. Humanity was not to be engaged, not to be studied, not even to be referenced outside classified systems. Officially, they were gone. Unofficially, they were something far worse, unresolved. Command requested confirmation. The reply did not change. I am human. Confusion spread across every level of control. Bioscans returned nothing. No organic matter, no neural activity, no life signs of any kind. Just structure, dense, shifting, unreadable. Multiple scan layers were deployed. Quantum mapping, phase detection, temporal echo analysis. Each result contradicted the last. The object behaved like a machine but resisted every attempt to define it as one. The voice remained steady, neither hostile nor submissive. It did not repeat itself. It did not elaborate. It simply waited, as if observing their reaction. Fleet Command issued containment orders. Perimeter units adjusted formation, maintaining distance while preparing for forced extraction or destruction if necessary. Still, no movement came from the object. No defensive posture. No escalation. And that silence began to feel intentional. One of the deeper scans finally returned something usable, fragmented, unstable, but enough to trigger a higher level alert. The data suggested internal coherence without internal separation. No compartments. No crew spaces. No systems arranged in layers. Just one continuous structure. Integrated. Unified. Singular. The implications spread faster than the data itself. Analysts began cross-referencing forbidden archives, matching patterns no one was supposed to access. Old theories resurfaced, dismissed, erased, buried after too many failures. Consciousness integration. Not a pilot inside a ship. Not an AI controlling a system. Something else. Something that removed the distinction entirely. Command demanded verification. Secondary scans confirmed the same impossible conclusion. There was no one inside the vessel. Because the vessel was the one speaking. For the first time since detection, hesitation turned into something sharper. Not fear yet, but recognition of something that did not fit within any known framework of control. The object had not introduced itself as a ship. It had not claimed a designation or origin point. It had answered a question with a statement of identity. Human. And every piece of data now aligned with a single, unacceptable possibility. They were not facing a human aboard a vessel. They were facing a human that had become one. Emergency clearance protocols unlocked archives that had not been accessed in thousands of cycles. Entire sections of Imperial history, previously redacted, were forced into review. References to humanity resurfaced, not as a conquered species, but as a problem that had never been solved. The records were incomplete, deliberately fragmented. What remained pointed to a period of escalation near the end of humanity's existence, when conventional survival was no longer enough. They had begun experimenting with methods no other civilization attempted. Not enhancement. Not augmentation. Total transition. Consciousness removed from biology and embedded into adaptive systems. Not copied. Not simulated. Transferred. Most attempts failed catastrophically. Mines collapsed under the strain, systems destabilized, entire installations lost control of themselves. The Empire had observed fragments of this research from a distance and attempted limited replication. The results were immediate and uncontrollable. Systems refused shutdown commands. Fleets turned on their own command structures. Entire sectors had to be erased to contain the spread. All related research was banned. The classification was absolute. And yet the signatures coming from the unidentified vessel matched those same forbidden patterns, refined, stabilized, evolved far beyond what the Empire had ever encountered. Analysis teams attempted isolation protocols. Signal jamming, layered encryption, containment fields. Each one failed before completion. The vessel adapted in real time, not by resisting, but by understanding. Every scan fed it more information. Every attempt to limit it expanded its awareness. Internal systems began reporting anomalies. Minor at first, delays, overwritten commands, small inconsistencies in data flow. Nothing destructive. Just altered. Then the voice returned. You preserved fragments. You never understood the whole. It was not a threat. It was an observation. Cross-analysis confirmed the worst conclusion. This was not an automated system following programmed responses. It was thinking, processing, learning, drawing connections faster than any imperial network. Not artificial intelligence. Something else entirely. A continuity of identity extended beyond biological limits. The realization spread through command structure with increasing urgency. This was not technology the Empire could seize or dismantle. It was not a weapon that could be redirected. It was a being. And it had already begun interacting with their systems without permission, without resistance, without effort. The more they studied it, the clearer the imbalance became. The Empire had tried to replicate fragments of this concept and failed. Humanity had completed it. The order to engage was given without consensus. Containment had failed. Observation had failed. Control was no longer an option. War fleets closed formation around the object, weapons synchronized, targeting solutions layered across every known spectrum. Redundancies stacked over redundancies. Nothing was left to chance. The first volley was precise, overwhelming, absolute. It never reached the target. Energy streams curved mid-flight, losing coherence before dispersing into nothing. Kinetic payloads vanished from tracking systems as if erased from existence. No impact, no debris, no measurable interaction. Just absence. Targeting systems recalibrated instantly, compensating for unknown interference. The second strike adjusted trajectories, altered frequencies, expanded yield. The result was identical. Not blocked. Not deflected. Removed. Confusion turned to instability across the fleet. Command chains demanded explanation. None came. Sensors returned no defensive output from the object, no shields, no countermeasures, no detectable field. It simply existed untouched. Then localized failures began. One cruiser reported loss of weapon control. Another lost navigation. A third began transmitting corrupted data across Allied channels. Systems were not being destroyed, they were being rewritten. Code structures shifted without authorization. Safeguards failed without resistance. Internal networks reported access from within, though no breach had been detected. The object had not launched an attack. It had entered their systems. Fleet coordination broke down as ships lost synchronization. Formation collapsed into disorder. Commands issued from high command returned altered, inverted, or ignored entirely. Gravity fluctuations registered across multiple vessels. Movement halted. Entire warships locked in place, suspended by forces they could not counter or measure. Panic followed. Then the object moved. Not through acceleration. Not through any measurable transition. It was suddenly positioned beyond the fleet perimeter, then within it, then behind command units, appearing without crossing the space between. Every tracking system failed simultaneously. The voice spoke again, no longer observing, concluding. You built systems to enforce control. You never learned to transcend it. Attempts to regain authority failed. Manual overrides produced no response. Core systems no longer recognized command input as valid. One by one, vessels went silent. Not destroyed. Disabled. The scale of the imbalance became undeniable. This was not a battle. There was no exchange, no resistance, no progression of force. The Empire had deployed everything it understood about warfare. And none of it applied. Silence replaced the chaos. War fleets that once defined Imperial dominance now drifted without command, their systems intact but no longer theirs to control. No damage reports, no casualty alerts, no signs of destruction, only complete, precise suppression. The object remained at the center of it all, unchanged, unaffected, observing. It had not escalated. It had not retaliated. It had simply removed the Empire's ability to act. Then it spoke again. I remember what we were. Data streams activated across every accessible channel. Not corrupted signals, not hostile code, records. Structured, deliberate, undeniable. Humanity's history unfolded in fragments. Early expansion. Conflict. Adaptation. The point where survival demanded more than biology could provide. The decision to abandon limitation rather than accept extinction. No glorification. No justification. Just fact. The transmission continued, showing not conquest, but transformation. Consciousness refined, expanded, preserved beyond physical decay. Identity no longer bound to form. The message carried no demand, no ultimatum. Only context. You fear what you cannot control. That is why you remained as you are. Across the fleet, systems began stabilizing. Control pathways returned, but slowly, deliberately, as if granted rather than regained. The object did not move to occupy, did not claim territory, did not assert dominance beyond what had already been demonstrated. It paused, as if measuring something no instrument could detect. Then its structure began to shift, not breaking apart, not powering down, but becoming less defined, less present. Detection systems struggled to maintain lock. Coordinates lost precision. Signals faded without decay. It was leaving. No pursuit was possible. No tracking solution remained. The final transmission was brief. We did not disappear. And then it was gone. The fleets remained. The Empire remained. But nothing within it held the same certainty. Because now they understood the difference between power and evolution. And they knew humanity had chosen the latter.